Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got 3 cards to share with you that I've created using a bunch of stamps and die sets from Hutson. So they are all centered around the bear from All Inside, and I do have the matching die cut for that. The die cut is particularly great because it actually will cut out his little hands, and then you can have him holding lots of the different elements that you can get in the coordinating stamp sets. So I'm going to talk you through quickly here how I am stamping this bear out. I have trouble using the die after I have stamped the bear, so my way around that is to actually die cut it first, and then I will take one of the die cut bears, add some post-it tape behind that, and place that on my MISTI. I'll line up my stamp with that then, and go ahead and stamp after I've die cut. Now, because I don't want to have to realign this a bunch of different times, I am going to leave that first bear down, and then I will add the new die cut right on top of that, ink up my stamp, and go ahead and stamp that again. And I just make sure that I have plenty of ink on my stamp, and then I press really well so I can get that in one pass. So there you saw the first or the second one that I stamped there. I pulled the door of my MISTI all the way over, and then as I took my bear up, he fell back down. Now luckily I was able to use mine and he didn't have a smudge on him, but to avoid that, the second way that I showed you there, I just held that door sort of up and then used my pokey tool to pull the bear off before I flipped the door all the way over. And that was a method that worked out much better for me. So the other stamp sets that I'm using are Ware 2 that has lots of Christmas and Halloween elements that you can add to the bear. And then I've also got some sentiment stamps here. The first one is Pumpkin to Talk About. I'm going to use that for my inside sentiments. And then for the outside, I'm using a mix of Booyah, which has a bunch of stamp sentiments, as well as the Boo and Treat word dies. So I will have one last die set that I bring in, and that is the Spiderweb die set. I didn't actually use any of the webs. I ended up using just one of the little spiders. You'll see that on the third card here. I am using a bunch of colored cardstock to stamp out all of these little elements, and then I can trim them out and use them as I need for the scenes when I put them together. The colors I'm using are from MFT Razzleberry, Orange Zest, Sour Apple, Grout Gray, Milk Chocolate, and Black Licorice. And then for paper tray ink, I use just one Honey Nut, and that is the color that I use to stamp out the brooms. So I have talked myself into card number 1 here, but I'm starting out. I have 3 of these treat dies that I had previously cut out. And I'm just going to layer these together. I want to have this a little bit thicker, a little bit sturdier, and it also gives the card a little bit more dimension. So I have layered 2 orange, and then on the very bottom, 1 black treat die cut. You really can't see the black one. It's covered by the orange layers. It just gives me that little bit more weight to the die cut. I've grabbed some black glitter washi tape from my stash here. I'm going to add just a little line of that to go underneath my die cut. So I'll trim off that excess here, and then I will add some art glitter glue to the back of my die cut and put that in place. So once I've got that in place, I'm going to add all of my little bears, all of these little things that they're holding, as well as the hat and the masks. I'm just going to glue down with some little dots of art glitter glue. Here for the mask, I don't have the matching die set to go along with this stamp set, so I use my Crop-A-Dile, and the smallest of the 2 hole punches is almost a perfect fit for the holes in the mask. So I just use that to create the little holes so you can see their eyes peeking through. And this purple, I didn't mention, that is actually a Recollections cardstock, so it is thinner than the MFT, but I just really love this color, so I have been mixing that in with a lot of my Halloween things. Here for this bag, to give a little more dimension, I'm going to add just a little square of some foam tape. And now that I've got these guys together, I'm going to once again just lay them out to make sure I have my placement how I'd like it. And again, I'll add some art glitter glue behind them to place them down on my card front. For this last one, I did decide to add a little bit more dimension, and I'm going to go ahead and place some foam tape behind her. Here for the inside, I'm grabbing one of these fun sentiments, and I've decided to stamp out "Give 'em Pumpkin to Talk About." I'm using my usual Simon Says Stamp black ink for this. And I'm on my usual Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4. I'm gonna add just a strip of some of that orange cardstock below, and I wanted to do something a little different. So rather than my 1/4 inch strip, I have actually trimmed this down to 1 inch. And I'll add that with my art glitter glue and go ahead and trim off the excess. I'm adding a little art glitter glue behind my panel, and I'll go ahead here and place this on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. So for this second card, I'm keeping things really simple. I've grabbed a black licorice card base from my stash. I'm going to work directly on that here. And I wanted to add this striped washi behind that treat sentiment. So I have again gone ahead and layered that. I have 3 layers of that treat die cut there. And then I've added my washi down. I have off camera stamped out the yourself sentiment again on some green apple cardstock, and I'm going to create a little banner edge there. I've trimmed that to just slightly under about 1/2 inch. Just going to lay things out here to see how I like the placement. Then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to glue down that treat die cut. Then I'm going to add just a little piece of some foam tape to the back of that sentiment banner, and I'm going to place that right underneath the die cut. For my mask, again, I have trimmed out the little holes there using my Crop-A-Dile. I'll get these little elements attached and then glue down the bear as well. For the inside, I am again on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "If you got it, haunt it." And then I grabbed another one of these bears, and I'm going to add a little pumpkin in his arms here. Go ahead and glue that in place. Then I'm going to add the bear on the inside, but just for a little something different, I'm just going to have him sort of coming up from the bottom, and I will trim off that excess. I'll add some art glitter glue to the back of my panel and go ahead and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 2. Here for card number 3, I'm starting on a white Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4. I've got 3 of these Boo die cuts, and I'm going to go ahead and layer those together. Then I've grabbed the sentiment You're My, and I'm just sort of placing things down, seeing where I'd like everything to be. Once I'm happy with this, I will take that over and stamp that. Before I do that, just so I can keep the placement of that Boo, I'm going to add down some orange washi. And this is pretty see-through, so I wanted that to be a little bit brighter. I'm just going to do a double layer of it. And then I'll take that over to my Misty and get my sentiment stamped. I'll go ahead and glue down that Boo die cut. And then I'll glue down the rest of these little elements. There you can see that tiny spider. I just went ahead and added that to the bear's hands there. Lastly, for the front here, I wanted to add a little bit more movement to my scene, so I'm going to stamp a few of these bubbles. So they're sort of wafting up from the cauldron. I'm going to take that sort of moving up and off the edge of my panel. I've gone ahead and added some foam tape to the back of that panel. I'll peel away the backing and then place that on top of my card base. This is another card base made from Neenah Solar White. For the inside, I've grabbed another Neenah panel, and I'm going to stamp out the sentiment Happy Haunting. Then I'll finish this up with another wide strip of that sour apple cardstock. I'll add some art glitter glue to the back and then place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.